Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Today, we're going small, really small.
Like, how small are we
We're
talking?
talking nanotechnology small, the kind of small that makes a strand of your DNA look gigantic,
So, like, smaller than small.
way smaller. We're talking about working with materials at the atomic level.
Wow, okay, that's pretty small.
It's a billionth of a meter. That's nanotechnology.
A billionth of a meter. It's hard to even imagine.
It is, right? It's like trying to imagine the entire Earth shrunk down to the size of a marble.
That puts things in perspective.
But what's even more mind-blowing is what scientists are doing at this scale.
So, what are they doing? Building tiny little houses for ants.
Not quite, though that would be pretty cool.
Right. Imagine a whole tiny ant civilization.
But no, we're talking about creating materials with entirely new properties, building microscopic machines that could travel through your bloodstream.
Wait, hold on. Microscopic machines? Like little robots.
Exactly, nanobots. It sounds like science fiction, but it's a field that's rapidly becoming reality.
That's incredible. But how did we even get to the point where we can manipulate things that tiny?
Well, it all started with a physicist named Richard Feynman,
Feynman, the bongo-playing, safe-cracking physicist.
the one and only. Back in 1959, he gave this legendary lecture called There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom.
Catchy title.
Right. And in that lecture, he basically challenged the scientific community. He said, look, we can manipulate things at the atomic level, and if we do, it'll open up a whole new world of possibilities.
So he was like the OG nanotech visionary.
Exactly. He was way ahead of his time.
But how did this idea of nanotechnology go from a lecture to an actual field of research?
Well, that's where Eric Drexler comes in.
Oh, I've heard of him. He wrote that book, Engines of Creation, right?
You got it. That book, published in 1986, really popularized the concept of nanotechnology.
And I remember it being kind of controversial, too.
It was. Drexler talked about these things called assemblers, which are basically tiny robots that could build anything, atom by atom.
Sounds pretty futuristic.
It does. Imagine a world where you could just program an assembler to create anything you need. Food, clothing, even a new house, all from basic raw materials.
It's like something out of Star Trek.
Right. But it also sparked some fears, like the idea of self-replicating nanobots running amok and consuming everything in their path, turning the world into gray goo.
That's a pretty terrifying thought.
It is, but it's important to remember that we're still a long way from creating anything like that.
Okay, good to know. But even so, manipulating matter at the atomic level seems incredibly difficult.
It is. There are some major challenges scientists are tackling.
Like what?
Well, for one, there's the sticky finger problem.
The what?
It's called that because at the nanoscale, the forces between molecules get incredibly strong,
So it's like trying to build a house of cards in a hurricane.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And then there's quantum mechanics to contend with.
Oh, quantum mechanics, everyone's favorite head scratcher.
Exactly. At the atomic level, things behave in really weird ways. Particles can be in multiple places at once, they can tunnel through barriers, and their properties are inherently uncertain.
So it's like trying to play chess with pieces that teleport randomly.
That's a great analogy. It makes predicting and controlling their behavior extremely complex.
It sounds like nature has a bit of an advantage when it comes to working at this scale.
Absolutely. Nature has had billions of years to evolve and perfect its nanotech.
And it's all around us, right?
It is. Think about viruses. They're essentially tiny machines built from just a few molecules, and they're incredibly efficient at what they do.
Or even simpler things, like the structure of a butterfly's wing.
Yeah. Or even the way our own cells function. They're full of tiny molecular machines doing all sorts of complex tasks.
So we can look to nature for inspiration when designing our own nanotech.
Definitely. And we've actually been doing that for centuries, even if we didn't realize it.
What do you mean?
Think about things like using yeast to brew beer or bacteria to make yogurt. We've been harnessing these tiny biological machines for a long time.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right.
And now, with nanotechnology, we have the potential to take this to a whole new level.
So what are some of the potential applications of nanotechnology? What could it really change?
Well, the possibilities are pretty mind-blowing. Imagine using nanobots to clean up pollution in the environment.
That would be amazing. We could finally tackle things like oil spills and plastic waste.
Exactly. Or imagine creating ultra-efficient solar cells that could power entire cities.
That would be a game changer for renewable energy.
And what about nanomedicine? Using nanobots to deliver drugs directly to cancer cells, repair damaged tissue, or even create artificial organs.
Wow. It sounds like nanotechnology could revolutionize healthcare.
It really could.
Yeah.
But with all this power comes responsibility, right?
Absolutely. We need to think about the ethical implications of manipulating life at the nanoscale.
That's a crucial point. If we can engineer life at the atomic level, what does that mean for our understanding of life itself?
It's a question we'll need to grapple with as this technology continues to develop.
Definitely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the history of nanotechnology to its potential to reshape our world.
It's been a fascinating journey into the very, very small.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
So here's a final thought for you to ponder. If we can engineer life at the nanoscale, what are the limits of what we can create? What does the future hold for this incredible field? Until next time, keep exploring the world of the infinitely small, because it's a world with infinite possibilities.
See you next time.
See you then.